You know how sometimes you try to lift something up about, say, your health, and suddenly you're just lost? So much jargon, so many opinions.
Oh, absolutely. It can feel overwhelming trying to figure out what's actually going on inside your own body.
Yeah, exactly. Well, today we're going to try and cut through some of that noise. We're doing a deep dive into something really fundamental,
Mm,
your immune system.
that's right. How your body defends itself against all sorts of things, viruses, bacteria, the usual suspects. It's like getting to know your internal security team.
And we've got some solid material to guide us. There's a detailed textbook chapter for the nitty-gritty explanations,
Hmm.
and also a study guide that lays out the key definitions nice and clearly. So kind of the big picture and the quick guide rolled into one.
Our mission here is really to pull out the crucial bits. How does the system work? What are the main protection strategies? And what happens when things go sideways?
Right. We want those aha moments for you without burying you in like super technical terms.
Exactly. Clear and useful.
Okay, so let's dive right in. The big question first. What is immunity fundamentally?
Well, the source definition is pretty straightforward. It says immunity is defined as the capacity of the body to resist pathogenic agents. So, it's your body's basic ability to fight off stuff that can make you sick.
Your natural defense capability. Okay. And the sources mention two main types straight away, innate and acquired.
Yes, those are the two big categories.
Can we break those down a bit? Let's start with innate.
Sure. So, innate immunity, the source calls it the inborn capacity of the body to resist pathogens. This is the stuff you're born with. It's your immediate kind of general purpose defense.
Non-specific, right? It doesn't target one particular thing.
Exactly. It reacts broadly to any potential threat. It's the first line, trying to stop invaders before they even cause trouble.
Like the first security checkpoint. What kind of tools does it use?
Well, the textbook lists quite a few mechanisms of innate immunity. Some are things you might not even think about as immunity, like enzymes in your saliva or your digestive system.
No, like digestive enzymes.
Yeah, they can break down harmful things you might swallow. And even the acidity in your stomach or, urine can kill bacteria. It's pretty clever.
Wow. Built-in chemical warfare almost. What else is in that innate toolkit?
There are molecules called defensins, particularly in your lungs, sort of like natural antibiotics. And then you have the cells, the phagocytic cells.
Phagocytic, meaning they eat things.
Pretty much. Neutrophils, monocytes, macrophages. They actually engulf and digest microbes and debris. Little Pac-Men cleaning things up.
Okay, the cleanup crew.
Yeah.
Got it.
Mm.
And I saw mentions of interferons and complement proteins.
Right. Interferons are key for viruses.
Right.
A cell gets infected. It can release interferons, which basically warn nearby cells to put up their shields, making it harder for the virus to spread.
A warning signal. And complement.
The complement system is a set of proteins that, complement other immune actions. They can directly destroy microbes or tag them so those phagocytes can find them more easily. Sort of amplifies the whole response.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's the innate system, fast, general, always ready. What about the other type, acquired immunity? Sounds like something we developed.
That's exactly right. The source says acquired immunity is the resistance developed in the body against any specific foreign body. This is your specialized defense force. It learns, it adapts, it remembers specific enemies.
And it's much more targeted.
Highly targeted. And the absolute key players here are lymphocytes. The text is clear. Lymphocytes are responsible for acquired immunity.
Lymphocytes.
Yeah.
Okay. These are the cells doing the learning and remembering. And acquired immunity also has different types.
It does. We generally talk about two main branches, cellular immunity and humoral immunity. Both involve lymphocytes, but they tackle threats differently.
Before we get into how they work, where do these lymphocytes come from? Do they need training?
They definitely need training. They all start their life in the bone marrow. Think of it as the recruitment center. But then they go different ways to mature. T lymphocytes, or T cells, their processing happens mainly in the thymus.
The thymus, an organ.
Yep. It's most active when we're very young. The source mentions T lymphocytes are processed in thymus. It's like their boot camp, where they learn to tell friend from faux self from non-self.
And there's a hormone involved, thymosin.
Correct. Thymosin is produced in the thymus and helps these T cells mature and multiply. It's like the drill sergeant, maybe. And once trained, they specialize into helper T cells, cytotoxic T cells, suppressor T cells, and memory T cells. Each has a job.
Helper, cytotoxic. Okay, a specialized team indeed. What about the B lymphocytes, the B cells? Similar process.
Similar idea, different location for their main schooling. The quote says, B lymphocytes, Processing of B lymphocytes takes place in liver during fetal life and bone marrow after birth. So liver before you're born, bone marrow after.
Okay. And what do B cells become?
They can turn into plasma cells, which are basically antibody factories just churning out antibodies, or they become memory B cells ready for a future encounter.
Memory cells for both T and B types. That sounds crucial for, not getting the same thing twice.
Absolutely. That's the basis of long-term immunity. And a key point for both T and B cells is specificity. Each one is designed to recognize just one specific type of antigen.
Like unique lock and key.
Exactly that.
So we keep saying antigen. Let's define that clearly. What are antigens?
Good point. The definition is antigens are the substances which induce specific immune reactions in the body. So anything, usually a molecule, that your acquired immune system recognizes as foreign and reacts to.
And they aren't all from outside, right? There are self-antigens.
Right. The source distinguishes autoantigens or self-antigens, parts of your own cells, from foreign non-self-antigens. Those are the invaders. Bits of bacteria, viruses, toxins, even allergens like pollen.
Got it. So when a foreign antigen gets in, how does the body respond? Let's start with cell-mediated immunity. Sounds like cells doing the fighting directly.
You got it. The source calls it the immunity developed by cell-mediated response. It is also called cellular immunity, or T-cell immunity. It involves T cells mainly, plus macrophages, and another type called NK cells. Crucially, no antibodies directly involved here.
And it's good for things hiding inside our own cells, like viruses.
Exactly, or even cancerous cells. It's about dealing with internal threats.
So how does it start? How do the T cells find these infected cells?
This is where antigen-presenting cells, or APCs, are vital. The quote explains, antigen-presenting cells are the special type of cells which induce the release of antigenic materials and later present these materials to the helper T cells.
So they grab the enemy material and show it off.
Pretty much. Macrophages, dendritic cells, even B cells can act as APCs. They engulf an invader, chop it up, and display little pieces that antigens on their surface.
How do they display them?
They use special molecules called MHC major histocompatibility complex. You might also hear HLA in humans. Think of MHC molecules as tiny flagpoles on the cell surface holding up the antigen flag.
Okay, and different flags attract different T cells.
Sort of. There are class I and class II MHC molecules. Class II MHC generally shows antigens to helper T cells. Class I MHC shows antigens, often from inside the cell like a virus, to cytotoxic T cells.
Right, so an APC shows an antigen to a helper T cell using MHC class II. What does the helper T cell do then?
If the helper T cell recognizes that specific antigen, it gets activated. Think of it as the field commander. It then releases signals cytokines, which we'll get to that alert, and activate other immune cells, especially those cytotoxic T cells.
So the helper cell coordinates the attack, and the cytotoxic T cells are the soldiers.
Exactly. The quote says, cytotoxic T cells destroy the invading organisms by attacking them directly. They patrol, find cells displaying the kill me signal, the antigen on MHC class I, and release chemicals to destroy that specific infected or foreign cell.
Direct cell-to-cell combat. Intense. Okay, now what about the other branch? Humoral immunity. This is the antibody one, right? In the body fluid.
Yes, that's the one. Defined as the immunity mediated by antibodies, which are secreted by B lymphocytes. These antibodies circulate in the blood and lymph the humors.
And this is particularly good against bacteria.
Yes. The source notes, the humoral immunity is the major defense mechanism against the bacterial infection, especially bacteria floating freely, not hiding inside cells.
So how does this one get activated? APCs involved again?
They are. APCs can present antigens to B cells too. B cells also have receptors that bind directly to antigens. When a B cell finds its matching antigen and usually gets a confirmation signal from a helper T cell.
Or it gets activated.
It gets activated, then it starts dividing rapidly and differentiating. Into plasma cells, which are the antibody factories, and those important memory B cells for the future.
Okay, antibodies. We see the Y-shaped diagrams everywhere. What are they exactly?
The definition. An antibody is defined as a protein that is produced by B lymphocytes in response to the presence of an antigen. They're also called immunoglobulins, or Ag.
And the Y shape is important.
Very. It has heavy and light chains. The base of the Y, the constant region, or Fc, often interacts with other immune components. But the tips of the Y arms, the variable or Fab regions, are unique to each antibody. That's the part that binds specifically to one antigen.
The lock and key part again.
Right.
So once it binds, how does that stop the bad guy?
Two main ways, according to the source. By direct actions, through complement system.
Direct actions, like what?
Things like agglutination clumping pathogens together so they're easier to clear out, precipitation making soluble toxins fall out of solution, neutralization physically blocking the harmful parts of a pathogen or toxin, and sometimes lysis directly causing the pathogen cell to burst.
And the indirect way, through complement.
Right. Antibody binding can trigger that complement system we mentioned earlier. This ramps things up, causing more lysis, making pathogens tastier for phagocytes, increasing inflammation to call in more help. It's like the antibodies call in reinforcement.
We've focused on T and B cells for acquired immunity, but you mentioned NK cells earlier with innate immunity. What's their deal?
Ah, yes, natural killer cells. The quote calls them a large granular cell that plays an important role in defense mechanism. They are lymphocytes, but they work differently. They can spot and kill infected cells or tumor cells without needing that whole antigen presentation process.
So they don't need prior training on a specific antigen.
Exactly. They look for cells that seem stressed or are missing the normal self-markers. They're kind of like innate immune system assassins, providing a faster response against certain threats.
Okay, interesting. Now, how do all these different cells and systems coordinate? You mentioned signal cytokines.
Yes, cytokines are crucial. The source defines them as hormone-like small proteins acting as intercellular messengers by binding to specific receptors of target cells. They're the communication network.
Like texts or emails between immune cells.
That's a great analogy. Cells release cytokines to tell other cells what to do, activate, calm down, come here, differentiate. Interleukins, interferons, those are types of cytokines.
Yeah.
They orchestrate the whole immune response.
Makes sense. You need coordination with so many moving parts. But what happens when this complex system goes wrong? The source mentions immune deficiency and autoimmunity.
Right. These are major categories where things aren't working properly. Immune deficiency, as the quote says, is when some components of immune system is missing or defective. The body just can't fight infections effectively.
Can you be born with that?
Yes, those are congenital immunodeficiencies. Or they can be acquired later in life. The source mentions the most common acquired one, acquired immune deficiency syndrome, AIDS.
Caused by HIV.
Right, which attacks helper T cells, crippling the immune response.
And autoimmunity is the opposite problem, attacking yourself.
Essentially, yes, the definition. Autoimmune disease is a condition in which the immune system mistakenly attacks body's own cells and tissues. The self-non-self recognition breaks down.
And there's a genetic link. Something about HLA.
Often, yes. The quote notes, most of the autoimmune diseases are HLA-linked. Remember those MHC-HLA molecules? Variations in them can increase the risk of the immune system reacting against self-antigens. Think type 1 diabetes or rheumatoid arthritis.
Wow. Okay, so the system gets confused. What about allergies? The source links allergy and hypersensitivity, too.
Yeah, allergy is basically an overreaction. The quote says, allergy means hypersensitivity. It is defined as abnormal immune response to a chemical or physical agent, allergen. An allergen is usually something harmless, like pollen or dust mite proteins.
But the immune system treats it like a major threat.
Exactly. The source connects them. Immunological hypersensitive reactions give rise to several allergic conditions and autoimmune diseases. It's an inappropriate immune response. Hypersensitivity, your typical immediate allergy with hives or sneezing, involves IgE antibodies and histamine release. It's like setting off a fire alarm for a piece of dust.
An overzealous alarm system.
Got it.
Lastly, let's touch on boosting immunity, specifically immunization. This is obviously huge for public health.
Absolutely fundamental. The source defines it. Immunization is defined as the procedure by which the body is prepared to fight against a specific disease. It's about priming your immune system in advance.
And there are passive and active types.
Correct. Passive immunization or immunity is produced without challenging the immune system of the body. This means you get pre-made antibodies, like a baby getting them from its mother or someone getting an antibody infusion. It's temporary protection.
Okay, borrowed immunity. And active.
Active immunization or immunity is acquired by activating immune system of the body. This is what vaccines do. They introduce a safe form of the pathogen, or parts of it like weakened viruses, killed bacteria, or just specific antigens, sometimes modified toxins called toxoids.
So your body learns to fight it without getting sick.
Precisely. Your immune system mounts a response, creates antibodies, and crucially, those memory T and B cells. So if you encounter the real pathogen later, your body is ready to shut it down quickly. It's like a training exercise for your immune army.
Passive is borrowing shields. Active is building your own fortress.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Well, this has been incredibly insightful. We've gone from the body's immediate innate defenses through the complex learning and memory of the acquired system, looked at the key cells like T cells and B cells, the role of antibodies and cytokines. It's just, wow, such an intricate system.
It really is. And hopefully, drawing on these sources, we've managed to sketch out the fundamentals in a way that makes sense, hitting those key concepts without getting too bogged down, giving you those aha moments we talked about.
Definitely. So thinking about everything we've covered, what sparked your curiosity the most? Now that you have this foundation, maybe you're wondering more about how exactly T cells kill other cells, or why some people develop allergies and others don't, or perhaps the details of how new vaccines are designed.
Yeah, understanding these basics really opens up so many avenues. It gives you a real appreciation for just how resilient your body is, and for all the amazing science constantly uncovering more about how this vital defense network operates every single second. There's always more to learn.